Hey guys, this is Kool-Aid Reef bringing you a video on supplementing or dosing in a marine aquarium. One of the main reasons that this is a significant part of the hobby is because, when you're dealing with a marine aquarium, you usually have a volume restricted water body and levels of minerals can fluctuate up and down. Now corals use them daily, so if you're not up to par with water changes, supplementing would be the way to go. The reason I say water changes is because salt mixes. They already have these minerals in them. So when you do a water change, these minerals that were once depleted are now once again added to the water column. Now if you want the best growth out of your corals, there is a more precise method known as dosing that will help you maintain stable water parameters at recommended levels so you can enjoy your marine aquarium at its best. Now, people usually dose two things, and that would be calcium and alkalinity. They try to control them. Now, I do have calcium right here. It's by Kent Marine, and calcium is very important in a marine aquarium. And corals really use it mainly for skeletal purposes. And calcium and alkalinity are the major elements are used by corals. But they also use, some of the more minor ones that aren't as necessary but still play a major role, such as molybdenum and strontium. It's a mineral supplement for reef aquariums, and it helps with soft tissue. And that's why you can see the zoanthids there. Zoanthids are, polyps, for those of you who don't know, and they reproduce by budding off. They're completely soft tissue, and that's why it's necessary for them, but it's also necessary for some types of LPS, like hammers, because, hammer heads. Ever since I started dosing strontium and molybdenum, I have been noticing my hammer splitting more often. Not as much skeletal growth, but more soft tissue-wise. Alright. We'll be discussing that little supplement kit later. Now, you may ask, why calcium? Now, many coral skeletons are composed of calcium, and they need that. It's one of the main things they need. Also, inverts, such as cleaner shrimp, they need calcium in the water for molting, because once they shed their skeleton, they need to create another one, and they hide in that period so they can die if they're unable to properly molt. This is why some people have trouble keeping cleaner shrimp, and they have to drip acclimate, and they still don't make it. But luckily for me, my cleaner shrimp has been with me for a year now. Now your corals are constantly absorbing this calcium, so it's very easily depleted. And once the levels hit 360 ppm, coral growth is stunted. It's scientifically proven that if you have an excess amount of calcium, or more than the maximum recommendation, which is 450 ppm, then that will slightly boost skeletal growth. Now, I'm not telling you to just take this liquid calcium and just pour it into your tank. And it's very important when you're adding something, you want to test for it to see how much you have, especially when you're dosing, which is why I do have the Calcium Pro test kit by Red Sea. It's 25 tests, and it is really costly in my opinion. I got it for $17.99, and to prove it, right there, $17.99. So you'd really want to test what you're adding. You just don't add stuff to your marine aquarium without testing it, because you don't know what your current parameters are. Now, in a reef aquarium, the calcium should be between 400 and 450 ppm. And in the ocean, it's approximately at 420. Now, calcium itself cannot be dosed because it will raise alkalinity. I was going out and to get a pH/alkalinity buffer, because if the alkalinity gets too high, then your SPS or more delicate corals can bleach easily. So all those years of patience and growth all gone to waste. So you do not dose calcium by itself. you must have an alkalinity buffer. I did go to the local fish store, they were out of it. So, I'm sorry that I do not have one for displaying purposes, but I did get a temporary kit that is in the back right here. It's for mainly nano reefs. And the reason I say this is because it's not really optimum for larger reefs because, first of all, it's costly. It's $17, and it only treats my tank, which is a 40-gallon, for 23 days. So, to be honest, $17, 23 days, it's a bit expensive. You can go get yourself test kits, alkalinity buffer, and some calcium for around, I would say around 50, 60 bucks. It'll probably last you a good year. So, that's the better way to go. Now, let's get into alkalinity. Now, alkalinity is not a thing in the water. It's more of a measurement. And, it's something that exists in the water as a chemical. Now, it is an additive of various things, that have a chemical property. Now, but reefers want to measure this for a particular reason. And that's because corals use something in the water known as biocarbonate. And they take that biocarbonate and they use that to process it into carbonate. And that is what helps them use the calcium to build their skeleton. So the alkalinity indicates the presence of a biocarbonate. So if your calcium is high, but your alkalinity is really, really low, your corals aren't receiving or, taking/using the calcium like they should be. They're not getting the most out of the calcium. Which is why, dosing, if you dose something like calcium, there's always a second part, and that's alkalinity. This is why I got this test kit. It actually buffers out the calcium and alkalinity when they're added. You add part A, and then you add part B, and everything buffers out and becomes stable. Here's the back. It's recommended for biocubes, but I want to show you something on the bottle inside. Give me a minute. Right here. Yeah, I know it's kind of hard to see, but on the bottom it says this is the recommended levels, and it's gonna, take your aquarium levels and buffer them anywhere between the amounts that it says. Now the pH is gonna buffer anywhere between 8 and 8.3. Alkalinity is going to be between 140 to 200 ppm. DKH is going to be between 8 and 11, and calcium is going to be between 400 and 450. Now, you may say, that, you might want to have precise measurements. Here, it's not precise. If you want 450 ppm of calcium, you don't know how much, the additive is actually adding. You just know it's going to be between 400 and 450. You do not know the exact amount. With the, on the other hand, with the Red Sea test kit, some calcium, and alkalinity buffer, you should be good, and you would know the exact amounts of how much you have. Now, on the other hand, this is much better. And the reason I say that for nanoreefs it would be better because it already contains molybdenum, strontium, iron, and it contains many essential elements. So, you don't need to go out and buy this. If you have a small tank, this is very ideal. All you have to do is add this every day instead of going out and buying this, then buying, the calcium, and then buying everything separately. So this is an optimum solution for more of nano setups. And all these are phosphate and nitrate free. So now the key here is that if you have a marine aquarium and you're dosing, you want to dose calcium and alkalinity, because alkalinity, if it's low, then the corals aren't using the calcium in the water. There's no use. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You can see my tank right there. It's been doing great. And I want to share with you guys a story before I sum up this video. And it's a story about how I was dosing this right here, liquid calcium. As you can see, there's not a lot left. You can hear that. Not a lot at all. So what happened was the alkalinity, there was a huge alkalinity swing. And my pagoda cup, which it doesn't LPS, I believe, but it does have a very hard skeleton. What happened was it bleached in some spots. It is recovering now since I got everything stable. So I hope everything will be okay, but that's just a quick scenario. I have it bleached. It only took like 1 day. So you never dose calcium by itself in a marine aquarium. I hope you guys enjoy this vid. So please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is Kool-Aid Reef signing out.